Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and boy, we have a bunch of questions coming off that debacle in Austin last week. So I'm not going to waste any time here. I'm going to dive right into them. First one comes from Syntax, who says he wants an update on my season prediction. How many games do I think Tech will win? What games left do I see Tech winning? Well, I still, don't get me wrong, my confidence was shook, not just by the way they performed in that 70-35 loss to Texas, but also all the injuries and stuff. So, Marquise Waters and Tyler Shuck, and let me go down the list. There's a lot of guys even guys that aren't out for a long time that are day to day. So, but I'm still sticking with 7 wins. I had Tech winning only one of these first 3 conference games originally. So, I think actually I had them losing to Texas, beating West Virginia and Morgantown, and then coming home and losing to TCU. I haven't decided yet. I still haven't. I know this is Friday when this is posted. I'm shooting this actually Thursday, but at this point I haven't decided if I'm going to switch this. But I may switch the win over West Virginia to TCU. I haven't decided, but I still think they'll win one of those 2 games. And I've said from the beginning, if they don't win one of those first 3 games, then, oh boy, look out. First 3 conference games. So they're 3-1 right now. They need 4 wins. I'm going to say, right now, I'll say 1 win out of West Virginia and TCU. Beyond that, Kansas, that's 2. You have Kansas State, which, sometimes I look at Kansas State and I think, yeah, Tech should win. ESPN FBI, they have them Tech as favorites, the Football Power Index. But then sometimes I look at Kansas State and I'm like, they are going to punch Tech in the mouth, and Tech's not going to beat them. Tech's only beaten them one of the last 10 times they played. But for this purpose, I'm going to say that either Kansas State or Oklahoma State, Tech gets a win there. They have actually played Oklahoma State well recently. Last year they lost, but they won the 2 games prior to that. So I'm going to, and that's big. Coach Will's biggest win so far was a home win against Oklahoma State. They get him at home again. So maybe that's it. That's where they get the win. But then after that, you have Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Baylor. And now Baylor looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. And they opened a Big 12 with a pretty big win over Iowa State. So Iowa State looks beatable all of a sudden, and that's at home. So, and Baylor's there in Waco. So I'm going to say you win one of those 2 games too. I've had it as Baylor, and you've had no success against Iowa State. But maybe Iowa State can be got this year. It sure looks like it. I don't know if Texas Tech's the team to do it, but. And then with Baylor, each of the last 2 years, Tech, no matter if Baylor's going to the Big 12 championship, or if they're one of the worst teams in the Big 12, Tech has played them close, and they won last year. So that's where you get to 7 wins. Like I said, I haven't decided yet. Either West Virginia or TCU, that's 1. Kansas, that's 2, which gets you to 5 wins. And then either Kansas State or Oklahoma State, and then either Baylor or Iowa State. Which Iowa State, I don't know. It's hard for me to even say that, to be honest. But I don't see them beating Oklahoma. I'm actually really nervous for Texas Tech going to Morgantown this week against a West Virginia team that looks pretty good and has had some tough losses where they could have won against Maryland and Oklahoma just this last week. So, and they beat number 15 Virginia Tech. So. It's not going to be easy, but I still believe they can get to 7 wins. Tech Freak asks, he says, with 8 games left this season, if I were to make a change at defensive coordinator, would I do it now or play the cards you've been dealt and do it after the season is over? Well, normally I wouldn't even answer this question just because, they're still there. It just seems weird. But when you have a performance like last week where you allow a team to score on 9 of their first 10 possessions, and you can't even get lined up, you can't get the right amount of players on the field, I think, this is a warranted question. Absolutely. So if I were to make a change, if I felt like I knew I was going to make a change and that perhaps someone else, whether it be a Derek Jones or Coach Cosgrove, who's a linebackers coach, who was defensive coordinator at Wisconsin and Nebraska previously. Guys could do the job the rest of the year, and kind of they could audition for that gig possibly during the season. Then absolutely, I pull the trigger. Now, I don't know that. I don't know how the team would react. I know that the players, believe it or not, love Coach Patterson. I know a lot of people out there, like on Inside the Red Raiders on social media, I've seen y'all do not like Coach Patterson, and I understand. But so I don't know what kind of effect. Like if I thought, okay, go ahead, we know we're going to make a move, so let's go ahead and do it. And if I thought, well, that could be a rallying cry for this team, then I would say do it. But I don't know if that would be the case, because just in like frank conversations with guys, they would just go on and on about how much they like and respect Coach Patterson. So, I don't, that might have an opposite effect. Which, how much worse could they play? I guess would be the counter, and you'd have a point. So, I put it this way: I wouldn't have a problem if hypothetically you decide you're going to move on no matter what after this year from Coach Patterson, then I wouldn't have a problem with go ahead and doing it during the season. Saddle Tramp asks, would you let Kirby Hocutt hire a new football coach given his track record, and would you fire him too if the season goes as previous seasons? Would I let if it was my choice, would I let Kirby Hocutt hire the next football coach? Hell no. Not no, but hell no. He's done very good in several areas. And personally, like, he's always been professional to me, like in my dealings with him. I have no problem with him personally. I mean, he seems like a nice guy and all that. But, I mean, his track record, I mean, come on. He didn't go well in Miami. And then people always make excuses for him with Cliff Kingsbury. I don't. I mean, I don't. The fact he hired him, the fact especially that he gave him the raise the contract extension when he did, and then he went lone wolf McQuaid. I mean, I just want y'all to know that this was all Coach Wells was all Kirby Hocutt, and I'm not totally out on Coach Wells like a lot of y'all are, and I understand why. I get it, and people are really emotional about it, so I get it. But they're 3-1 right now. I want to see how the season plays out. I haven't gone all the way the dark side, or however you want to put it, with Coach Wells. But if this season does play out the way the recent seasons have, and they just it's okay, they're going to move on from Wells. They still got to pay him millions of dollars. You just got out from under that terrible contract with Kingsbury, and all the things that it entails. Would I let Kirby Hocutt hire the next coach? Hell no. I mean, in terms of if he should be gone, well, you know what? I mean, a lot of athletic directors have been fired for less, and then they had all the controversy with the women's basketball team. I don't know how big or not anything was with the softball team. The other teams, basketball's been good, though, Beard did leave, I like Adams, but I'm just saying, he hired, which I give him credit for, the most successful basketball coach in Tech history, but he also let him go to your arch rival and nemesis. And so, I mean, I personally, if you take all your emotions out of it and you just look at it, if you're not even a Tech fan and you look at the situation, you would definitely have to wonder, is this athletic director, why is he still there? On a lot of levels. But then again, he has really good connections. He's obviously pretty tight with the president and the chancellor. I don't know how his fundraising is compared to other I just haven't ever looked at that. I don't know. But a lot of the programs are doing well, but the main one, football, has been terrible for a long time, and it's been on his watch. Dio Vet says, what happened to our linebacking core? Manhandled, out of position, overrated, something else, all the above. And Red Raider Fano, I didn't list it here, but he actually says, look, a week ago you were talking about them being the best of the Big 12, and then last week they couldn't tackle anybody. What's the deal? These are all valid questions, and I got to tell you, I was shocked. I was in dismay with the performance. I couldn't believe how much they got manhandled, punked, were out of position, rattled, shied away from contact. Flat out just missed tackles. Now, some of it was, okay, UT has good backs. I'm not saying they don't, but they didn't have Eric Dickerson and Barry Sanders. They had very good running backs. Bijan Robinson, very good running back. All those guys. It's UT. They always have good running backs. But that doesn't explain what happened. So you won't be hearing me talking up this linebacker course and all that. That was an unbelievably bad performance. So, where was Rico? Where was Krishan Merriweather? What happened to those guys? And Colin Schooler had the worst game I've ever seen him have. So, it was very disappointing. I'm not going to sit here and defend that, Let's see how they do the rest of the year. But you won't hear me railing about, these guys are just so great. Unless it's just some, remarkable performance. But I'll never forget that happened. That is on the resume, on tape, all that forever. Linebacking core took a huge hit because of it. DH Tech asks, what's more true? Number one, our football roster is objectively not as good as the rest of our conference. The coaches are doing the best they can with the talent they have. Or two, the coaches are underperforming. Our roster is talented enough to go toe-to-toe with the vast majority of Power 5 opponents. Yeah, I'm going to go with number two, actually. I think I said before the year, there's no excuse for this team. Now, they were playing Texas, all right, in Austin. So... if you say underperforming, that certainly it's not that they lost; it's the way they lost, right? I mean, I actually because of my job, was forced to watch the entire game. I didn't. This is maybe the first game in a long time I haven't rewatched it. I saw enough. If it wasn't my job, I would have turned off at halftime because it was sickening to watch. And a lot of it on defense was just getting aligned, getting the signals in, getting aligned, scheme. You got totally out-schemed by Texas. And then, when there were guys in position to make plays, they didn't as well. So, which was disconcerting. All of it was disconcerting. But I definitely feel like they got out-coached in that game. So to begin, before we get to anything else. And then the team got rattled, and it was just, as Coach Keith Patterson, the defense coordinator, said, things snowballed. So if I had to choose between one or two, I'm going to say two. Big Slick Texan says, do I have any info on Taj Brooks' stats? Yeah, Coach Will said earlier in the week he's day-to-day. I originally heard that he was going to be out a couple weeks. So I'm not going to say I'm be surprised. Yeah, I'll be a little surprised if he played against West Virginia. I'm not shocked. I don't know, I don't know the exact extent of his lower leg injury, but I do expect him back at some point. I don't know if it's this week or against TCU, but definitely after that, I would expect him back based on what I heard. So we'll see. Maybe he's a fast healer, modern medicine, all that, or maybe he's had a setback since then. I haven't heard. I'm not for sure on that, but that's what I know about Taj Brooks as of right now. Anonymous wants to know, he says, there seemed to be some situational play with Dontovan Smith. He's now the backup quarterback, but he's the freshman from Friendship. Big dude, 6'5", can throw, can run, athletic. He scored a touchdown against Texas. He says, it seemed to be some situational play with Dontovan Smith. He says, outside of injury or negative QB play, do I see Cumbie utilizing Smith's abilities in some sets and situations this season? Absolutely. Like I just said, he's very athletic. He's elusive. He is a juke stick kind of guy. I can definitely see him providing an option as the coaches call it going 11 on 11, where basically they have to account for the quarterback. They can't just disregard the quarterback. So Columbia could run some, but he's not the athlete that Dontovan Smith is. So yeah, I could see that happening for sure. TTU Dad 2012 says one thing he noticed was that the defense was usually a foot or two away from the line. He says, do they not practice on being on top of the ball or right on the line? He says he feels being that far away, you're giving short yardage to the offense. He says, how the quarterback can change the play at the line. Can the middle linebacker do the same? Yeah, all the way around. like, this is so basic. The defense could not get lined up, all right? So they were at a disadvantage before the ball was even snapped. And this was driving me insane. I wanted to go down there and scream at everybody, to be honest. Not even just like a homer, like rooting for Tech, but just as someone who grew up with football. I mean, my dad was a college football lineman. I mean, I just, I got in a stance when I was 2. Literally, I've been getting down a stance on the line since I was 2. It's not complicated, So I was, what's the right way to describe this? Dismayed. I guess I was just blown away that they were struggling over, like, not once or twice, because everybody, I mean, even in the NFL, you'll see, like, especially if a team goes tempo or something, but Texas went tempo some, but not even for the Big 12 that much, and Tech could not get aligned. And so I asked Coach Wells, like, have they changed the process so they can get aligned faster, the communication? And he said no, that you can't change that in the middle of the season because there's some basic football tenets that you have to follow. And I thought to myself, basic football tenet is getting lined up correctly. And as you said, TTU, Dad, 2012. And so I said, look, well, who's responsible? What, as you mentioned, like the quarterback, offense for defense, is a linebacker or safety or whatever. So are there any players that are responsible for getting the guys lined up properly? And he said, every man is responsible for themselves, which I understand. But he also mentioned there's some, like, safety will call out some slight changes or whatever. And then a linebacker might, say this or that. But I didn't see anybody taking charge at all. That's for sure. That was disconcerting considering all the veterans they had on the team. Now, Malik Dunlap didn't play. Marquise Waters got knocked out. He was out for the season with a torn pec early in that game. And those are 2 of your bigger physical players in the secondary and veteran guys. So that wasn't good. But you still had a lot of veteran guys, especially in that front 7. And boy, I sure didn't see a whole lot of leadership there. So I'm hoping that'll change, moving forward. GYATM, which that's for this stands for Get Your Ass to Mars, from Total Recall. Some of you might recall. But weird handle, but hey, man, do your thing. He has a question for me. He says, JJ, what is your favorite moment in tech sports since doing this job, and can I describe why? Yeah, that's pretty easy for me. Actually, it's 2 of them. But I think I'll stick with the main one. The main one was the Final Four victory over Michigan State. And that might sound like an obvious guy, but my reasoning for it was because of the stage. I was there, like many of you watch this, I'm sure, in Minneapolis, and just the total jubilation in the stands. I mean, everybody, tens of thousands of Red Raider fans in the stands jumping up and down and hugging each other. And I mean, when Matt Mooney was making those threes and he held his hands out, like this, very Jordan-esque, and everybody was just going wild. I mean, I'll never forget that. I told Mooney that too. Matt's a good guy. I've talked to him since he's gone on from Tech, and I just mentioned what a great moment that was, and that's got to be it for me. I mean, all the excitement, just all this anguish that we feel like from this Texas game, or the bad breaks, it's hard being a Tech fan and all that, seem to kind of dissipate and all go away because it's like they're on the verge of the championship. Now, of course, we know what happened to the championship. We're not going to go there. But the best moment was that Final Four victory over Michigan State, and just the pure jubilation and the partying that went on in Minneapolis was pretty ridiculous. It was fun. It was worth it. It was worthy of those celebrations, and what an exciting time it was there. It was like spring break for Texas Tech fans out there in Minneapolis. So that was cool. All right, final question comes from Panther Cat, who asks, will TJ Storment start at left tackle this week? Man, Storment, that is somebody who I, touted as having, being a major upgrade and having a great offseason, who just has not performed up to expectations. I feel like it's there for him. I mean, he was an second team all Big 12 performer last year, but he got pulled last week for, I think, 3 flags in a row. But Coach Wells did say that he was going to start this week, that he got benched for those penalties then, but he's the starting left tackle, and he'll be out there to start this week. So that's my expectation. That's what the man said. So of course I believe him. I don't think they have anybody better than Stormont. But then again, he's not performing up to his abilities, that's for sure, because he's a very talented guy. So I hope he could come on and have a really good rest of the season, because they really need him to. But and I think that really is the thought about the whole team. I think right now they're underperforming their capabilities, their abilities. I'm not saying that bring on Bam. I never have. I've always said 7 wins, which isn't anything to brag about. But it would be a huge upgrade and a nice building block for this program. And they got to play a lot better than they did against Texas. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And they got to know what's at stake. And they got to bring it. These Big 12 opponents certainly are. West Virginia's going to be ready for them in Morgantown, especially having lost the last 2 games to Tech. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll have a much different tone for next week, and everybody will get to celebrate a victory, and we'll talk about that, and then moving on to TCU. But we'll have to see how it plays out. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time.